Nice to meet you. My name is Julie Poor. I'm a specialist of the International Center Alvasar, and today I'm not alone to perform. There is a director of the center, Irene Poor. She is also a co-author of our books. Also, I would like to introduce you our organizers who were pleased to help us to arrange this huge conference hall and will help us during the lecture with the calculations. Thus, we'll learn not only the science of childbirth, but also we hope, as we have 1 hour and a half to calculate everybody, and you'll get your own program. What will we include in this program? Of course, a career chart, a private life chart, and also everybody will get the name of your ancestral egregor. What is it for? First of all, your ancestral egregor is your talent, your maximum possibilities. It is your source of life strength. During the seminars, we learn to calculate what it means, but it's enough to understand which informational field you are connected with. And a little bit later, when I finish a theoretical part, we'll hand in your sheets of papers and we'll start interpreting. I'll name all ancestral egregors in the general part and you'll be able to identify. On your sheet of paper, you'll have a section. Let me show any sheet of paper. Thank you. There is a square at the bottom. It is called an ancestral egregor. Frankly speaking, there is nothing now, but in an hour there will be codes. And when I'll name everything, you'll understand which egregor you are connected with. Thus, you'll be able to understand about yourself and your family. So let's start. The fact is that a lot of people ask one question: who are we in this huge and boundless universe? And maybe somebody has gone to Peru. Are there any? No? There is one shamanic ravine that allows you to feel in a particular informational condition how close you are to the universe. And so to say, when you dissolve in this unusual informational field and return to the reality, you tell yourself, is it real that I'm a part of this huge universe? Yes, you are really a part of this huge universe, and such philosophic conception as a human being is a part of the universe creation through space dust, right? That we are a part of space dust. It's only one of the comprehensions of the physical plan. In fact, we are connected with special informational energetic fields and through astral, mental, ethereal and other bodies. That's why a human being isn't only a part of the universe, but also a part of the informational energetic field. How do we get this energy? We get it through the ancestral egregors. Today I'll show you that our universe is connected with us through a chakra system, is connected with a star system, and it in return is connected with our chakra system. And we, according to the law of similarity, are nothing but the continuation of the universe. You'll see it today. And many people who work with the chakra system maybe ask themselves, nevertheless, if we are connected with an informational energetic field of the family via the third chakra, it's in many videos and in the book. How are we connected to our genius? We are connected through the fourth chakra. It is responsible for love, compassion, empathy, ability to feel a close person in a distance. But wonderfully, exactly the fourth chakra is formed in the astral plane. Today, you'll see it. Thus, it's our connection not only with the genius, but also with the whole universe. You already know that our bodies are being formed long time before they got the physical cover, and every person has a right to choose on which level he or she will play the game called life. According to the fact how you formed your physical bodies depends the amount of the energy that went to your astral, mental, ethereal and other bodies. And when we spoke about the fact that a human being is the final point of the evolution, we are a bit mistaken. Our game starts with the physical body, and further we move on the level of the ethereal, astral and other bodies, to get freedom from the physical body and enter the other level of the spiritual development. So we'll pass a long way, one more time, beginning with the universe creation and finishing with a human being, how we get energy and how it is distributed in our body. I've spoken numerously about the fact that substance is located is located in the first dimension. There is absolutely solid physical substance, something like a rock of the conglomerate. There is no energy, only solid substance consisted only of tightly lying electrons. As you understand, there is no life. Next is the second dimension, and here is loosened physical substance, which is only parts of the substance. By the way, from the second dimension, we get cells for living for our organism. Here, there is also no life. In the third dimension, there are volumes. When our ethereal body through thoughts and forms pick up the energy of the second dimension, ephemeral forms appear. These forms appear and then split, appear and split again, as the wind in the desert picks up sand, but unfortunately can't create anything. Why? Because there is no ether. The fourth energy, the fourth dimension, is the dimension of the ether itself. And here are thoughts and forms, but thoughts and forms aren't able to create anything if there is no general global idea, and mainly no energy, and this energy is in the fifth dimension. These are the strings. They are in a constant wavy movement, and earlier or later these strings do what? They close. And in this situation, the fifth string goes down almost to the second dimension and goes up, and the second string goes up, and in the area of the third dimension goes down. Thus we get intersection and formation of our universe. You already know about it, and I spoke about it in the videos and is written in the book. But there is something we didn't cover. It's because we prepared you to the other deeper information connected with the science of childbirth. So to say, from here the positive energy gets into our body for living, and from the second dimension we get substance. At the unity, the funnel is formed. This funnel is the torsional field. The torsional field is a huge energetic field. If it formed our physical bodies in the whole, it'll burst everything that can and can't exist. So we need an extra function which can change the appearance of this torsional field and generate a thinner one. This was the reason why the chakra system was established. Our universe has two axes. The first axis, you know, it's an axis that is located at the distance 3.14 and is the center of our universe. And the second axis is the axis of our chakra system. And so to say, I've mentioned it several times, that a human being is connected with the second dimension. How? Via the first chakra. With the fifth dimension, a human being is connected via the ninth chakra. Thus we get on the second chakra, on the second dimension, there is the first chakra. The age of the universe is the second chakra. The third connects us with the third dimension. Here along the axis is the fourth chakra. The edges of the universe are the fifth and the sixth chakras. Here on the edge is the seventh one. Next is the eighth and the ninth. As you see, we got a cross. That very cross were not only by a human being as an energy system, but also by the universe as the same energy system. Everything is according to the law of similarity. The first and the ninth chakras are beyond the limits of our universe, as well as the eighth. That's why our task is to break through the second, the fifth, the seventh, and the sixth chakra and go up to the eighth. This chakra is responsible for the so-called third eye. It's a pineal gland in the organism. It's increased extrasensory perception, aspiration to the spiritually. And here, if inside there is substance, then near the eighth chakra it doesn't exist. Where is it? It is located in the ethereal field. That is here, the eighth chakra, are all the angels, all the veteran saints, but all the highest angels are only at the ninth chakra of our universe. Thus our universe is formed the same chakra system as ours, and this powerful energy of the torsional field is coming inside the universe, and here, thanks to the highest angels, the energy of the fifth dimension and the energy of the second dimension start joining. So here's the huge, the torsional field that consists of many layers. To be exact, there are 7 of them. The torsional field, according to the image of our astral plan, is also formed by 7 layers, and all these 7 different layers, if they got inside the physical body, could make a big misbalance in the organism. Exactly for this, an intermediate link is formed. We didn't speak about it before, but nevertheless you need to understand this. From the huge variety of those torsional fields, through an ancestral egregor, there is a conversion into a smaller torsional field. It's a huge energy that consists of only one flow. After all, this torsional field gets into the area of the 9th chakra directly of a human being, and the same energetic field is formed through a copy of the ancestral egregor with the torsional field and gets on the 1st chakra. Thus, a human being is connected with the whole universe. What's next? Then our energy goes through and is divided into 2 streams. The first stream is protons and the second is electrons. They get here. The same with the 1st chakra. They also get here. And somewhere in the center, in the area of the 3rd chakra, this energy combines. Over here, in the area of the 3rd chakra, as soon as the micro explosion happens, and you remember that the 3rd chakra is in the area of the solar plexus, and for each planet and each essence and different planets, this central chakra is different. For Venus it is the 2nd, for Mars is the 4th, and for us Earth people the 3rd chakra is the center of our physical body. And you know that in any center there is the biggest amount of a magnetic field, the poles of the magnetic field. The same is here. As soon as these 2 energies coincide and the energetic micro-explosion happens, the energies go along the poles, and from this moment a solid magnetic field is formed, where the poles of the magnetic field is located in the area of the 3rd chakra. But a magnetic field is the conglomerate of electrons. There are lots of them, 1, 2, 3, and all of them are connected with each other. As soon as the magnetic field was completely formed, and the magnetic field is the energetically informational mental field, there is a division. As you understand, here is the very solid magnetic field. There are lots of electrons, and now we need to give a start to the electrons inside our ethereal cover and form a physical body. How does it happen? The electron is released from the magnetic field and it is put inside. Here you know at the magnetic field on the poles there is a small hole where the electric current goes. So it came in here, spread in the area of the 8th chakra and formed an inner energetic stream like this. The same happens to the other chakras. Thus, a physical body is formed. Inside, at the crossing of the mental and ethereal field, an astral field of the less frequency is located. Exactly this astral field connects us with our ancestral energies. The 1st chakra of the human being is responsible for cell regeneration. Unfortunately, our children born in 2000s haven't got one. Not all of them, but most haven't got one in a birth date. We all have. We were born in 19,000s. That's why we don't need to worry about switching to the 1st chakra. But they unfortunately can have problems with it. If there is no 1 in the birth date, or 9 that connects them with the 5th dimension, you can think how to correct it. It can be corrected through the name. If in the name of a person born in 2000s there are sounds R, Z, Ch, then automatically you connect them with the 1st and the 9th chakra. That is, you connect them with the universe. It's easier for them to look for the ways in life, easier to identify their destiny. They become more intuitive as they are not only irritated through your ancestral egregors and directly your participation in your life, but also get extra information from the space. For the rest, it should be decided in the future through different pseudonyms, nicknames, and others. Anyway, R, Z, Ch, or 1 or 9 are very important instruments to connect a person to the informational energetic field. The third chakra is not only responsible for your magnetic field, but also for ethereal field formation, because here we see the connection of these strings, the magnetic field is formed and thus ether is formed. When we talk about astral plans, I'll draw it and you'll see. The third chakra as well is responsible for the ethereal field. Everything is absolutely similar. Let's have a look. I told you on the last lectures how the astral plan is organized, that is layered, that in the astral of our Earth planet, there are 3 main branches. It's the 3rd, the 5th, the 6th layer of the astral. Unfortunately, now we are in the zone of the quantum leap. I spoke about it a lot, and now I'll repeat. Unfortunately, in 2014, who doesn't know, I'll tell you, a quantum transition happened. Our proton decreased 4 times. Do you know about it? You know. For physicians, of course, it's a global event that should be explained, and for us esotericists it means one, that unfortunately the substance keeps on compacting, and it means that we aren't able to develop in the spiritual way to solve this problem. Our task is to pass to our descendants through ancestral egregors mental information how to develop correctly in the life. Otherwise, we risk opening the lowest level of the astral, the 2nd, and then souls from the Venus will penetrate in a big amount that will strongly aggravate our life. And unfortunately, psychologically, we won't be able to cope. They have completely different ways of life, different views on family and relationships. Nevertheless, we have to understand how it is important for us. So, if we suppose that we are on the 4th level of the astral, for example, there is a person, and in this 4th level of the astral there are layers. The first layer is a physical layer. There are physical bodies. On the 2nd thin layer there is ether. The next is the astral plan. And the finishing result for us is the mental plan. I've already told you that in the mental plan there are egregors and adams. Egregors, it is when the mental field is protected from the negative information. Why? The mental plan of our astral connects us with Earth planet. Through it, we communicate with our solar system. Through it, the solar system transfers the information to the universe, and it equally spreads in front of all the objects of our star system. So if we transfer the information to the mental plan in a wrong way, the mental plan starts protecting itself from this information. The same as the toxins are blocked with the fat cells in the organism. When we think about something negative, and the more we think about this negative aspect, the more so-called egregors are formed in the mental plan. These egregors must not be available for the whole humanity. That's why there is a small circle of operators that are connected with this mental egregor, and only they are able to read information from this egregor. If you aren't in the group, you don't know what information is carried by this egregor. Also, there are adams. Adams are the same as egregors. The mental plan is protected too, but there is one exception. The fact is that, in the adams, the positive information is kept. For example, the information about the fact that souls don't reincarnate, but after the last day they get into a kingdom, absolutely beautiful, with birds of paradise and so on. But they don't evolve, as if the last point in the person's life connects him with a kind of nirvana or Edem. In fact, it is also a misconception that doesn't let the humanity to evolve. That's why these Edems are closed by lenses in the mental plan. Thus, the mental plan is organized. Our task is to transfer clean and useful information for the whole humanity. so that any person who possesses the high degree of connection could connect that mental field and read the information of that philosopher, scientist, or esotericist who worked out a new technology. It should be useful. When at the seminars we calculate the connection with the mental fields according to the Chinese school, we see which mental fields every person is connected with. Our students understand this. Thus we identify a pure inhabitant of Venus or Earth, and of course a pure inhabitant of Mars, that is Indigo. And when we see here these Adams and egregors, unfortunately they disturb our mental field, and the more they are as clouds, the harder it is to reach this informational energy field. The more we think not collaboratively but individually and transfer the information through our ancestral egregors, the quicker we'll connect with our mental fields. In the astral plane here are also egregors, and these egregors are very useful for us. Here I'm drawing the egregor. We'll call it an ancestral egregor. When the energy from the torsional field enters a person, it bursts him. But when it enters through the ancestral egregor, the egregor distributes it along its ancestral lines. A bit later I'll draw these ancestral lines and teach you to define who you are towards your ancestors. You'll see exactly who you are, whether a great-grandmother or a great-grandfather, according to your mother's or father's line. In half an hour you'll manage to define it. And of course you'll help your friends, colleagues and close people to cope with this uneasy task. A bit later I'll tell you about all ancestral egregors that exist. So when this torsional field went through and got into your ancestral egregor, it distributed and the soul started arising in this or that egregor in the physical plane. Here is a person in the physical plane. Every person has an ethereal body, an astral body and a mental body. Today we'll look at the mental and the astral body, because they connect us with ancestral egregors. A person incarnates through the astral plane on the earth and in the same way gets back to the ancestral egregor. To have a simple way to the ancestral egregor and the soul won't get lost, there is an astral copy of your house in the astral plane. Our ancestors called this copy a temple or a mansion. In fact, all our ancestors lived in mansions, but it doesn't mean a rich house, but a house rich of life, of the ancestors and descendants. And everybody lived in one house, and it was made of wood, and when new families appeared, the houses were rebuilt and got bigger. And when our ancestors went to the astral plane, they found that house and entered their ancestral egregor and were met by other ancestors. Nowadays, unfortunately, there is a big problem with it. We moved to the stone houses and most people lost touch with their ancestral egregor. That's why when we calculate and we see it at the first course, a lot of karmic egregors and karmic connections are formed. It's very difficult for a person to incarnate in such a genus, and the person gets a taboo. A bit later I'll show you a sign called the sign of the ancestral closing, and you'll manage to calculate it if you have it, and it means only one. You didn't continue your genius and your astral branch, your astral connection with the genius was interrupted. And the second branch that connects a person with the ancestral egregor is the mental plane. Mental plane is an informational energetic plane. That is, you are given a possibility to incarnate through a particular ancestral egregor so that you could nominally pay. How? Thus, through your knowledge. The more you learn, cognize, define your talents or talents of your close people, the more information get back to your mental plane of your ancestral egregor. For this, you get a bonus, a very essential bonus. This bonus is the energy. Do you see this sign I've drawn? The sign of a dollar. When a symbolism is used and people know what they are talking about, they work for our subconsciousness. When we see this sign, we have a feeling of joy, plus a green color. A green color gives calm. And when we learn a map of elements at Chinese school, we know that the element of tree corresponds to the green color. It is responsible for the intuition, for the connection with the genius, plus the green color in the Western school of numerology is responsible for 4, 5 and 6. These are the very chakras, the 4th, the 5th and the 6th, that connect the person with the mental and astral fields. So I mark them. The first chakra is located behind the limits of the physical body. Here it is. The second chakra of our thin plan is located, I'll move it a bit. It is located in the physical body, the same as the energy system of a person. The second chakra is responsible for the childbirth. Thus we understand why the birth of a person is connected with this part of our organism. Why? Because the second chakra is responsible for the physical plan. The third chakra, as you see, is responsible for the ethereal plan, and it is also located in the center of our energy system. We follow the law of similarity without making mistakes. And the third chakra as an ethereal plan connects us with what? With Earth planet. It is our umbilical cord. And if the childbirth is going in the wrong way, I spoke about it in the videos, when the umbilical cord is cut and there is no opportunity to get the energy juices from the mother's organism, unfortunately we cut ourselves from our plan of the earth. This is the reason why a person doesn't feel his or her emotions. The person unfortunately doesn't escape if there are catastrophic events and of course pollutes the environment and doesn't worry about Earth planet. The next is the astral plan, and the 4th chakra is responsible for it. And exactly in the astral plan, the ancestral egregors are located. What is responsible for the 4th chakra in the human organism? The heart. That's why one of the laws of the universe is the law of love. If you are able to love, you have the connection with your ancestral egregor. The next in the mental plan, there are the 5th and the 6th chakras simultaneously. They are on the person's right shoulder, it's the 5th, and on the left shoulder, the 6th. Thankful to the 5th and the 6th chakras, our energy system is absolutely closed and volumetric, unlike the system introduced by the Indian culture. And of course, the karmic plan, the 7th chakra, is responsible for it. And you know, if there is any misbalance in the karma, the person breaks the karmic laws or has mistakes in the past incarnation, today we'll calculate it and I'll name them one more time and you'll see your mistakes of the past life and of course try to untie this karmic knot. The thyroid gland is responsible for the karma. And if there are problems with the thyroid gland, it shrinks or becomes bigger and you suffer pain when your throat is squeezed. It means that you entered the turbulence zone or the zone of karma. Fortunately, the neck is the thinnest part of the body. Why so? Because the path to the 8th plan, to the person's intuitive body, should be strictly limited. And exactly the thyroid gland, through the person's karmic body, defines whether to let this information higher or to let your spiritual development or not. If you know, there is an amazing tradition in African villages to put on the rings on the neck so that it becomes longer and much thinner. Thus, they artificially limit the stream of the karma and lead themselves to the higher layers. I don't insist on this tradition. It's better to work with karma through the actions, not the rings. What concerns our system? We get the energy, transferring there only the information. Imagine a person visits a magician or an occult doer and says that he or she wants to study at school and get an ordination. You can study wherever you want or get information wherever you want, but it's essential not to undergo an ordination. Why? Because all these ordinations work not through the ancestral egregors, but through the egregors located in the mental field. Thus, you betray your ancestral traditions. Why? You say, I don't want to transfer you and get from you, from my ancestors. I don't want to get the information. I want to get the information in the other mental field. For this, you'll be punished by your ancestral egregor, and you start connecting. I'll shift a bit. It's on one line. So you start connecting with the other person's mental egregor, a strange egregor. Yes, you'll be given knowledge, but there is one global but. When you form your energy informational field, your life experience, your knowledge in the classics, according to our traditions, all these things must go to the ancestral egregor of your genius. In return, you get the energy, but you save the energy plan. Your ancestors save it, your descendants save, and all of you get the copy of the informational field that you saved. This is the copy, only the copy. And here for 1,000 years, your genius saved information, and when you connected the mental field of the other egregor, an automatical download of the files happened. Those are the files that your genius saved for thousands or even 100,000 years. In return to this energy, of course, it's much bigger than in your ancestral egregor. And the knowledge is new. There wasn't such knowledge in your ancestral egregor, but you transferred this flash driver to the strange ancestral field. For this, the karmic plan deprives you from the mental plan of your genius. And if you don't continue your genius or have problems with procreation, as for example abortions, in this case you are deprived of the astral plan of this genius, and you remain alone. In this aspect, what is good? Of course you get a knowledge from the strange genius, but this egregor gives you only the knowledge and only the information which you require. It isn't connected with the general rules or laws of the universe, only what you want. If you entered the club A, you got its information only, not of the club B or C, only the information you required. As soon as you are switched off from the mental plan of your genius, you are switched off from the luck. The luck is given by our ancestors. If you are switched off from the astral plan and you don't transfer the information, your ancestors aren't ready to help you. In accordance with this, you feel the outflow of the energy. You are depressed and feel the absence on the Earth planet. And there is no support or interests, as if everything disappeared. But in this mental egregor, you get information. What is bad? This mental egregor has its own branch. This is the ancestral egregor, and you have to incarnate through it. They give you an ancestral connection, they give you a mental connection, and you leave your ancestral egregor forever. To come back, you have to remember who you are. When we calculate ancestral egregors, it's well seen firstly the karmic genius, that is, whether you are switched off from this mental plan, and secondly, if you have 4 in the 4th working numeral, I'll show a bit later, then you are switched off from the astral plan of this ancestral egregor. Thus you get neither knowledge of your genius nor energy. What is the knowledge of your genius? This is a very global aspect. As I've already said, every descendant, your brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, everyone is connected to one ancestral egregor. Here is your ancestral egregor. Here you connected with your ancestral egregor. Here is your brother or sister, any of your relatives. Each of them is connected with this ancestral egregor. So to say, there is a USB port here, and you get the information. How? Firstly, you got the divided information that had been saved before you in this ancestral egregor. That's why when you bring up an animal, They are also connected with the ancestral egregors. For example, you taught one animal to give a paw or fetch a ball. This animal gives birth to a descendant, and wonderfully from the first days of its life, this animal does the same tricks as its ancestors. Why? Because it got the general information from all the ancestors of its genus. Look, you got the experience from your ancestors, and you saved your life experience, your own information. And this information is kept as an astral copy in your ancestral egregor. Next, your ancestor also saved an experience, and he or she also transferred this experience to your ancestral egregor. What goes next? Next, you have a descendant, and this descendant simultaneously has got the information of your life experience, and also a life experience of another ancestor. Thus, when people lived all together and everyone developed, they didn't need to spend so much time for upbringing a child. This happened automatically through the ancestral egregors. If you start carrying negative information that can disturb your descendants in the intellectual or philosophic way in this aspect, and then you are mentally switched off from this flash drive. You aren't able to pollute it with the information, and they also stop transferring the information that could be passed to your descendants. That's why you have to be careful with your actions. You are responsible not only in front of your karma, but also you are responsible in front of your genus. It's very important. So let's have a look how the ancestral plans are organized. In Terran numerology that is combined with the Chaldean school of numerology, there are 22 main egregors. A bit later, when you get your calculations, you'll understand which is yours. That's why the names of the ancestral egregors and what information they carry I'll tell a bit later. Now a little bit of theory. So we have 22 main egregors. If you want, we can calculate a bit. Who wants to say your surname? Yes, please. Klimova. Klimova? 3, 2. Your main egregor is the first. So interesting. The first ancestral egregor is the teacher's egregor. In your egregor, the teachers who were close to the court, but it was not a noble genus, but very close to it. Your men, the ancestors of the genus, transferred very deep information to people. They taught at the institutes, at high schools, but the women in your genus were involved in the medicine. That's why if you have an interest to the teaching according to your male line, or to the medicine according to your female line, bioenergetics, healing, or other aspects, that's right, you get the information from your genus. And you don't need to study much in these two professions. You just feel it as you got this information from your genus. But there are a lot of first egregors. Why? Because the surname Klimova, another surname, also refers to the first ancestral egregor. More and more and more, maybe 100,000 or even more. And absolutely all of them save the energy for the first ancestral egregor. So what do we see? It is called a patrimonial nest. A patrimonial nest is a combination of the genus according to the genetics. Thus, the patrimonial nest is responsible for genesis of a person. Relatively speaking, all the Klimovs are located here. Here, somebody else, according to the first ancestral egregor. Is there anybody else? Look, please. Yes, the first. And so on. There are a lot of them, but every patrimonial nest is divided into its particular genetic lines. For example, you were born, let's suppose, in this genetic line. That is all your ancestors. Shilov. Here is also located a surname of Shilov. It's not calculated yet. So the Klimovs are from the first ancestral egregor, the Shilovs are from the first egregor, and so on. Each of them is distributed in their genetic line. Every genetic line has got its own ancestor. And when you were born in this line, it is already called an ancestral hearthstone. And you are located here in this huge coordinate system. Thus you are here and you feel your ancestral hearthstone. The hearthstone transfers the information to the patrimonial nest, and the nest transfers to the ancestral egregor. The system is very long. Each of the genera, the Klimovs, the Shilovs and others under the first egregor save that life experience that is divided among all the descendants. That is, not only your ancestors share the knowledge with you, but also the ancestors of the other patrimonial nests. If everybody develops, we will share this energy with a huge number of people. That's why everyone has minimum one mental connection. And this mental connection is to our ancestral egregor. To define your connection with the genus, because we have a coefficient in numerology that lets you define how close energetically you are to your genus. So I'll take at random the first surname, the paper. So as usual I take Rahu. Those who attend our seminars know that I choose custodians or Rahu. So again I've chosen Rahu today. The 13th of September 1965 is a birth date of a person. So we'll calculate the coefficient of the person's energetic connection with his or her genus. For this we sum up all the numerals included into the date of birth. 1 plus 3 plus 9 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5. What? Should we write our birth dates? Yes. You can write your date of birth and define your connection with the genus. Those who know, we are calculating the first working numeral, and it is the first person's matter cycle, shows the first level of the soul development, and which level a person is on, and etc. This aspect has a lot of options. We are looking at it now according to the point of view of the connection with the genus. 1 plus 3 plus 9 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5 is 34. For us, this information is enough. 34 is the first exam in the person's life. In your cases, you have your own signs. In our case, 34 years is the first person's exam that shows us whether the person was able to untie the karmic knot. In our case, it is the fourth or not. What? How did you calculate? Calculate what? 34? Yes. 1 plus 3 plus 9 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5. We are summing up all the numerals included into your birth date. Have you got the values? Great. Now we divide to the constant. It is equal to 8. It is equal to 8. Why 8? Because we've got 8 numerals in a birth date. Thus we get 34 divide to 8. It's 4.25. 4.25. Have you calculated? The quality standard is 3. If your value is 3.0, it means that you are connected to the field of your ancestral egregor. If you've got a lower index, and a bit later you'll calculate your beloved 2000s, and you'll see that their connection is very weak. Besides the fact they don't have 1 and 9 in a birth date, that doesn't give them a maximum connection with the second and the ninth dimension. The second dimension gives the cell regeneration, and the ninth gives the connection to the highest layers of our universe. They also have a very low coefficient. If you have below 3, it means you have a very weak connection with the astral plane of your ancestors, thus a small lack. The ancestors aren't ready to help you. Now you need to earn the right to join their elite club and to transfer them the right information, and they'll give you in return much more energy. When we calculate the quantity of the energy given us for the incarnation, I'll show you how to calculate it. 1309, continuous writing of the date and the month of birth, multiplied by the year of birth, we get a numeral row. 1309 multiplied by 1965 is 2572185, and we apply the total of those values that we got: 2 plus 5 plus 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus 8 plus 5. And if there is 0, should we omit it? Yes, sure. If you write it, the calculator will omit it for you. Thus we get, you have your own numbers, I got 30. Many people ask me if the different methodics are correlated. Sorry, we didn't understand how you got 30. Look, we multiplied the continuous writing of the date and month, multiplied to the year, and got a certain numeral row. And then we applied a so-called device in numerology that is curse-sum. We applied curse-sum to the values that we got. 2 plus 5 plus 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus 8 plus 5 is 30. 30 is the energy that was given for the incarnation. If you have a standard of quantity, for example, 26, 27, 28, it means that you have enough for your life, and the highest forces gave you the maximum they could. If 30, as in our case, it means that you were given an extra energy from your ancestral egregor. That is, you have a high, do you see, a high connection with ancestors, and they could add the energy to you. When you calculate our beloved 2000s, you'll say they have very low indications. Why? The angel who accompanies a person didn't give enough energy, and the ancestral egregor as well. Why? Because there is no honor and respect towards the ancestors. Unfortunately, this is the reason why many people lost their luck. We follow it to different mental egregors, but in fact, you need only remember the honor and respect to the ancestors, and you'll get everything you want. And what is the standard? Which coefficient? Look, here the standard is 3, and in the low it is 26, 27, 28. If more than 30, as in our case, it means that a person got, the angels gave enough. It is 26, 27, 28. If you have 30, it means that your ancestral egregor gave you an extra energy. Why? Because you have a very good connection with your genus. In the past incarnation, that is one of the potentials of a personality. You respected and honored your ancestors. In our case, there is one disadvantage. This person lived for others, no, he was a man, lived for others. In the particular aspect, financially, he is responsible for the genus. And if this person doesn't provide the family, he can be switched off from his 30 units of energy. This person was given so much energy so that before 34 years old, he untied his karmic knot and started providing his family. And this is a very difficult task, but the genus is ready to help him. Thus, you can analyze two aspects: how much energy you were given by the genus, how much energy by the angel, and one more aspect, how you are connected with your genus. Are there anybody with low index? Yes, 24. Here, it means that little energy was given to you. It means that the highest forces don't trust you. They make it for you a bit harder, give more difficult level of the game called life. And if 40, what? 40. It means that you gave a lot of respect and honor, transferred your knowledge of your ancestors in the past life. That's why you are given more energy than you need. But don't forget, if you were given a loan, it is an energetic loan. For a bigger sum, you should pay back more as well. If we are given energy, what we must return? Knowledge. That's why such people are keen on knowledge and transference of this knowledge. So as you see, we talk about numerology from the point of view of scientifically esoteric side, so that you understand behind every figure there is not only life but the universe. Now we'll have a look at another aspect. Who was a person in the past life? We'll identify the gender. In the past life, a man or a woman. What do we need it for? Very simple. In several minutes, I'll show you a complete scheme of the ancestral lines distribution. If earlier in the videos I showed only one branch, now I'll show them all. Thus you will be able to say who you are, an ancestor, according to which line and gender, a grandmother or a grandfather. You'll define clearly. Again, we sum up the entire figure in a birth date, and we get, as you remember, 34. Next, we apply queer sum to the index. We get, I'll remind you, that queer sum is the sum of the figures included in our number. 3 plus 4 gives us 7. Are you ready? Right. Now a bit more difficult. Those who know the system of Pythagoras, we are following this system now. Next, we take the first index that we divided to 8 and convert through this scheme. Through minus 2 multiplied by d1 that isn't equal to 0. To the next index. What is d1? Let me color it red. Our birthday consists of two figures. The first figure in our case is 1 and the second figure is 3. d1 and d2. Do you see I wrote d1 isn't equal to 0? Because if d1 is equal to 0, then we take the next index, d2. d2 isn't equal to 0 for sure. Thus in our case we get 34 minus 2, and I pay your attention to the mathematical laws. Firstly we apply multiplication and after that subtraction. Minus 2 multiplied by 1 and get 32. Now I see why this person didn't earn money in the past life. Why? Haha. As soon as we wrote 32, we apply queer sum again. 3 plus 2 is 5. Our calculations are finished. Why did I say that the person didn't work in the past life? Those who work with the system of Pythagoras know that in the last numeral there is a so-called the fourth working numeral. There is an assignment or a task in the past life. In our case, 5 is traveling. This person was very busy traveling. That's why he or she didn't have time to provide the family. As you understand, this person lived for others and traveled for others too. We won't disapprove, as we don't calculate the karma deeply. We look at the other aspects. Yes, please? How did you calculate that the person lived for others? We see more, as in the birth date we see a lot. Firstly, there is your program for your past life, karmic notes on your past incarnation. Here we see whether you managed to work out your incarnation task. I see 80% here, 20% went to karma. Then we see the purpose of coming, we see the program for the youth, see the program for the future incarnation, we see the meta cycles, all of them. As we are able to calculate further in mind, what do we see? The level of the soul development, planetary task for the incarnation, the planetary task of the past and meta cycles of the past, the obstacles, karmic notes, we see the karma and even the script of the past life, how the person lived in the past incarnation. And this is only the date of birth. It's much deeper, and by the way, we didn't apply any serious mathematical instruments. At the first grade, we learn how to calculate the past incarnation mistake, and it is so interesting. It's our calculation, and it's so attractive, and you understand, people are attracted by a bit of devilry. That's why our students at the first grade hear the dates somewhere, start thinking and calculating. That's right, because the mistakes of the past incarnation are on the surface. And here, as we are writing the date, it appears immediately. In this situation, it's obvious for me and our students that in the past life, the person lived for others. A bit later, you'll be able to see your mistake of the past incarnation. But don't judge yourself strictly, as it's only one of the mistakes, but the main. So we calculated. Have you finished? Julie, if the date is one figure, if your date of birth is from 1 to 9, that is, you were born on the 01, 02, 07, 09, it means that you managed to fulfill your task for 100% in the past incarnation. In our case, yes, you know, but the others don't. In our case, not completely. If I got 19, then I'll have 10? 10? Yes, 19. 1 plus 9 is 10. Personally you? Yes, you will have 10. I'll tell a bit later. And 18? 18 here? Lower. Here? Then here you have 9. And you were interested in esoterics in the past life. That's why you are here. That's why you are here. Our past incarnation is closely connected with our subconsciousness. And if you have very strong egregors of healers, for example, sacrifiers, egregors of clairvoyants or wizards, and when I say the word wizard, I don't mind an occult magician. Wizards are the strongest esotericists who are able to direct the ether. For sure, we have such representatives, and of course you'll learn about it a bit later. So you have calculated. Now our task is to count the number of even and uneven figures in 2 lines of the calculation, and you are counting yours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Uneven figures are 10. 1, 2, 3. You are counting the figures because 10 is a numeral. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So here is 3. Decided to practice one more time to revise the material. Can you repeat, please? Look, we have calculated the so-called low line. Have you calculated? And now we are counting the quantity, not the sum, but the quantity of even and uneven figures in these 2 lines. In 2 lines. What about 0? Not counted. It's not even or uneven. Look, let's count together. I'll show my case. Firstly, I count uneven figures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now even. 1, 2, 3. So these figures I've written down. What's your birthday? He is a guardian. It's very good for him, not for you. So, yes, I don't hear, unfortunately. If I got equal numbers, we speak about it at the seminars, there are details. Yes, I'm listening to you. The second line, this, it's a square sum 3 and 4, and 5 is a square sum of 3 and 2. Yes? If I got 39 and it's 12, right? 12, yes, you leave it. And 5. 5 is a square sum of 3 plus 2. So, we've got some indexes. Let's learn how to interpret them. You've guessed already, I think. Uneven signs are strong, resolute signs, they are male signs. That's why if you had more uneven figures than even, it means that you were a man. And the tumbler of brutality is defined by the quantity of difference between uneven and even figures. In our case, we see that the man was very brutal. Why? Because he loved traveling and cognized other cultures and maybe something else. So to say thankful for the brutality, he managed to live well. What concerns the female signs? If you have less uneven figures than even, it means that you were a woman, and the degree of humanity is defined by this aspect. When we define this aspect at the seminars, why do we need it? Subconsciously, we compare our partner with us in the past life. Thus, there are such dialogues in the conflict. If I were you, or I wouldn't have done it if I were you. And if you ask, when were you in my shoes? The answer is clear, in the past life. And here we see, I don't know yet this person's gender. What I can say, either this person will look for a strong woman if a man, or a strong and willful man if it's a woman. You see why? Because the signs are very strong. Thus, we have defined only your gender in the past life. But if you remember, there is one karmic sign that is noticed quite well. It's a sign of the genus closing. If in your calculation in the fourth figure, here, in the fourth figure, there is 6, are there any people here? Yes, there are. Yes, it means that in this incarnation you aren't allowed to continue the genus. Not always without children. When this sign has a man, it's much more difficult, because first 4 children conceived by this man come to his genus, but he is not allowed to continue this genus. And there will be no children in most cases, or they will be gregorial. They will be born and say, Mom, Dad, I don't know you, I'm from the other genus, I have other talents, and I'll be on my own as soon as possible. If it is a woman, she incarnates to life her own ancestors, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th child. But for a woman, there is a chance to give birth at least to her husband's ancestors. Yes, there are difficulties in childbirth for this sign. So if you have this sign, it means that in the past incarnation, you didn't continue your genus, being the only child in the family. That's in the past incarnation, the ancestral lines were closed on you. If you didn't continue the genus, your ancestor didn't have place to move and you were sent. Do you remember? I drew the ancestral nests. Here is the ancestral nest. There are several hearthstones. Here is one, here is one, here is one. You were sent to the neighboring ancestral nest. Now you have another genesis. That's why these people have failures in the body without knowing the reason. Why? The human being's ethereal body that forms the physical plan later is absolutely the same from one incarnation to the other. How does the ethereal body keep its form? Due to the DNA molecule. And the DNA molecule is the information from the mother and the father. In this hearthstone, the information from the parents will be correct. Thus, your ethereal body, that is your health, will be correct. And if beyond these 6, you are sent to the strange ancestral nest, this gene doesn't suit this lamp. And that's why there are some defects in the physiology. There are such failures in the body, thus we are punished for the fact we didn't continue our genus. And now when we defined your gender, is everybody ready? Yes, yes. Now I'll draw the process of entering your ancestors' souls on the scheme. I've told you already that when you start relationships, you must understand that you incarnate not simple avatars, you incarnate your ancestors' souls. And the first come the children who are your husband's ancestors, and after that yours. Thus, I mark a black circle for the men and the white one for the women. The first baby is born, the first in the genus. Let it be a man. It doesn't matter. The first was the closest to the genus, as this baby carried pure genetic line. Why? Let's have a look. Here is the axis of your genus. Here you have a father and a mother. Yes, a mother and a father. And your father has a father and a mother. And your mother has a father and a mother. Next, all your ancestors have parents, fathers and mothers. So we have marked a grandfather, a grandmother, according to the father's line, and also a grandfather and a grandmother according to the mother's line, and a grandfather and a grandmother according to the mother's line. Do you see? Now we are looking at first 4 children. Here is the first. Who is this child? The first baby is your father's ancestor, who is carrying the genes of his father, your grandfather, and thus one of 2 ancestors incarnate. A great-great-grandmother or a great-great-grandfather according to the father's genetic line. If you are the first child in the family, and we are observing the variant when you have the same mother and father, thus you are the closest to the genus. And do you remember we have just calculated a man or a woman? Either you incarnate your great-great-grandmother or a great-great-grandfather. Now you know who you are. If you are the second child in the family, what? Have you got questions? If you are the second child, you incarnate a male line of your genus as well as the first, according to your father's line, but already his mother's ancestors, your grandmother's ancestors. Here is the second line, and here is the same. There is a great-great-grandfather or a great-grandmother, and according to your gender in the past life, you can exactly define who you are. The next child is, what about twins? Twins are one soul. I'll finish and tell you about twins. So the next child incarnates the mother's line. The third child, the mother's line, but firstly and always the male line. That is your grandfather, according to your mother's line, who also had 2 ancestors, a man or a woman. The fourth child in the genus also incarnates the mother's line, but according to your grandmother's line of your mother's line, and also 2 ancestors, one of them entered the body. Are aborted counted? Yes, they are. Every child. The soul enters the body on the 7th day after the conceiving, and if a child went away before the 7th day on any reasons, it's not an ancestor. If on the 7th day the soul entered the body, the process is set, and from this moment it's an ancestor. And if you abort this child, thus you deprive your ancestor of the possibility to incarnate. Moreover, if you were murdered in this life, and abortion is a murder, so you get not into your ancestral egregor, but to the mental, the copy of the egregor, and you'll incarnate through strange lines. But if an egregorial soul entered your descendant, it doesn't mean that he or she is karmic. It's not the fact, as a lot of people are murdered who did a lot of positive things for Earth people, but for some reason didn't suit regime, So don't disapprove these children. Thus, first 4 children incarnate, and in the Vedic culture it is stated that the first 4 children are born to whose genus? To the fathers. The next descendants, they are the 5th, the 6th, 7th, and the 8th child, come to the mother's genus. The same system here. There is a mother, there is a father from the woman's line, there are also grandfathers and grandmothers, and there are as well great-great-grandfathers and great-great-grandmothers. Unfortunately, in our times, they are not always alive. That's why when they miss the time for birth, they hang, fortunately not in the mental egregor, but in their own ancestral egregor and wait for the time. Every soul knows the time of its birth, thankful to the matrix, and when 1,000 or maybe 10,000 years pass and some signs appear, they will be able to enter their descendants' bodies. So, the first child, and in our case the 5th already, but the first child in her genus takes again the male line only and incarnates one of 2. This child is also stays at the beginning of the genus, but the woman's genus. Next we incarnate the ancestors according to the grandmother's line. And of course the system is the same. Here is the grandmother, great-grandmother of the male line, incarnates here the ancestors, and here is the same according to the female line of the genus only. Thus the process of entering of your ancestors to your descendants' bodies happens. And if somebody for some reason wasn't born, you know now who of your ancestor wasn't born and won't be able to continue evolving in your ancestral egregor. Does this sign remind you anything? Are there any variants? Well, many people call it a full bowl. Yes, it resembles the bowl. Somebody says it looks like Grail. But nevertheless, let's return to the symbolism. I've shown what the dollar sign means in our system and why it is so attractive. And now I'll show how this sign is indicated. Absolutely all of you saw this sign. You saw this sign. It is generally used now in the ritual practice, but this sign shows the connection of the descendants with the ancestral lines. It is pure our Slavic sign, but unfortunately it is borrowed by another culture and it is ascribed to Kabbalah. But in fact it's our sign. Thus the system itself looks like already in the schematic variant, the scheme of soul's incarnation on the Earth planet. Are the calculations ready? Great. If you have any questions on theoretical part, I'll answer them, and after that we'll start learning your ancestral egregors. Did you meet people with the negative 3rd numeral? With the negative 3rd numeral, yes. How is it appeared in? The branch of our incarnation not always goes forward, sometimes back. If you have, do I get right, you've got minus in the low line? Yes, it happens. As a rule, these are people born in 2000s. Ask this person, this child, a question. What is the life in the future? Try to talk from this side. He or she will tell you about robotic technology, about crazy technologies, about the fact that inside the organism there is iron. Because every time I spoke with such children, they are very frank, right? They say inside us there are metal details and iron. And I have a feeling that in the future we are close to the so-called cyborgs. That's why if you talk to your child as if it's not a philosophy but reality, as you are ready to hear him or her, you'll hear a lot about future. Is it a kind of a sign? It's a sign of the fact that this child incarnated not from the past, but from the future. That's why our time for this child is minus the past, and for us we look forward to the future. You wanted to tell us about twins. Right, let's discuss. Twins, zygotic, dizygotic, Siamese, it doesn't mean. It means that in the past life it was one person. You know that a person has got a physical body, and twins have a physical body as well. Each of them has got an ethereal body, both of them, and each of them has got an astral body, because everyone comes back to the astral plane in different ways. And here it's very important to ask your relatives or your clients who of these twins were born the first, because to the astral plane goes the second child, that one who was born the second. Next is the mental plane. Each of the twins has got the mental plane as each of them collects an experience. After that there is a karmic plane, and the first child gets a positive karma and the second child gets a negative karma. Next, there is the connection of their energetic covers. The emotional plane, or to be exact, the plane of the 8th chakra. It's the connection with the angels. They have common, and also they have the common 9th program body. Why is there a division in 2 or even 3 bodies nowadays? Because in the past life a person made very rough mistakes. Could be a reason of mass murders, of sin actions, and this person has got 3 ways. The first way is to enter the service of demons. The second way is to go to the Mercury, where the soul is recycled and comes back again in millions or billions years. And the third way is to improve himself. And according to the fact that in this space the main law is the law of will, every soul is asked which way it wants to choose. And if this such soul chooses the twin's body, the younger twin gets the wholeness of negative karma. And this younger twin works out the past mistakes. And the first, vice versa, gets the positive karma. What is it for? Firstly, to get on the path of the Libra. And if one is happy, the other should be happy as well. The more positive things the first twin does, the easier automatically is for the second child to pass the way. The worse the second child lives, the harder, they are on the same scales, the harder the first one lives. That's why they are always in the intuitive connection, and that's why they have one program body. If one can't cope with difficulties, there is another to ensure. Due to the fact that the second child often dies the first, but it's still one body, all these energies, according to the karma, go to the first. And now the first child is one to work out the mistakes of the past incarnation. That's why if you have twins or Siamese twins, nowadays they are often born, it means that a karmic child came to your genus and you were trusted the right to help this child to untie his or her karmic knots. Are there any questions? And if the twin dies during childbirth, karma automatically goes to the first child, yes. Is it applied to the echo children? Echo children are not programmed. Look, we had a lot of wars. Huge numbers of people were killed and died during these wars, and I've already told you, if the person perished, whether this person did it himself or this person defended the motherland and died, this person won't be able to come back to his ancestral egregor. This person gets into a so-called general egregorial field. How to incarnate? There are several variants. The first variant is to get into the strange ancestral egregor, but not all the souls are lucky. That is, if the matrix is ready, this person can incarnate. If not, there is a second variant. These are modern egregorial echo children. The fact is that the body wasn't programmed to be born. These parents weren't given this child. They went against the space laws towards the biological laws, gave birth to a baby, but there is no soul of the ancestor in this baby. There is only an egregorial soul. It's not bad. As I said, a lot of people were valiant, died defending their motherland, were brilliant scientists. For example, you know that in the ancient Egypt there was an electricity, right? Imagine there were people who uncovered the truth that the lamp had been invented long time before our time, that it existed in the ancient Egypt, or people who spoke about the true history of our civilization. Unfortunately, these people don't have place in our world. These deeply spiritual souls will incarnate in echo children's bodies. And the third variant is the mixture of the nations. There is such a law called Ritter's Law. Thankful to Ritter's Law, we have the birth of those egregorial souls. Thankful to these possibilities, the ancestors who hang in the astral plane can incarnate. These are three variants to understand who you are bringing up, your ancestor or a strange one. If the children aren't planned, it means that the negative karma doesn't stick to them and they go another way. I mean the case when the twins are conceived naturally. I understand. The soul must enter one physical body. The fact that twins were born through echo means that, yes, the soul entered the body, but due to its karma, it was divided. There is no whole. The soul lived already in the past incarnation and gained its experience. If twins, it's 100% hard karma in the past life. The question is how they were born, whether through the ancestral egregor or any other ways, it's another question. What if you calculate a person, but he or she doesn't know about his or her twin nature by any reason? Are calculations false? Why? The calculation is true. Look, they have got one karma, but one lives in the plus and the other in the minus. The one who lives in the plus won't take consultations. You'll consult that one who is in the deep minus, and when this person comes to you, he or she will tell you about all the aspects, and you'll understand, strangely, but this person didn't make two rough mistakes. Why is he or she so low in the karma? Karma has got 5 layers in the minus and 5 layers in the plus. At the first course, we learn how to calculate the mistake of the past incarnation. It's the top layer of the negative karma, and we learn to calculate the point of the obstacle. It's the top layer of the positive karma. There are 4 more layers, down and up. Thus, if you calculate it and see events, for example, from the 3rd layer and he didn't make such serious mistakes, there are 2 variants. The first, this person entered karma through the meeting with the other person, through the opening of the legal person under the karmic name for him or her, or if this person lives in the karmic city or country but karmic for him or her. You look only at first approached signs according to karma. If it's clean, it's absolutely obvious that this person works out the negative layer. In my practice, I consulted only several. Did I give you consultations? No. You are one of the twins. As a rule, in 90% karmic signs work because a person without knowing took over the digital karmic matrix. You set a business, you have its name, and this name can be karmic for you. In your case, do you know whether you are the first child or the second? The second. Then it's your variant. You must live more responsibly as you are responsible for your elder twin. Brother? No, sister. You are responsible for your elder sister, and the cleaner you live, the easier it's for her. But it doesn't mean that she is absolutely saint in karma. We are all people. Yes? Do echo children continue the genus? The same. Echo children continue the genus, but they started from 0. Yes, from zero, they don't get mental information in total. Look, they are in the astral way. We have an astral connection and a mental connection. Echo children have an astral connection as they incarnated on the earth, but they don't have a mental connection, because for them this ancestral egregor is strange, and those who have 6 in the 4th numeral, the same. They don't have a mental connection with the genius, and now they have to prove by their knowledge and experience that they have rights to connect this field. That's why those who have impaired mental connections feel it on the emotional background. They don't feel backed. Yes? And if there are triplets, the same with the triplets, but a bit differently the bodies are divided. The absolute minus goes to the 3rd child, 50-50 positive and negative karma to the 2nd child, and absolutely positive karma goes to the 1st. That is, the 2nd child in triplets has got positive and negative karma as a usual person and even doesn't notice it. There was a question over there. If a baby dies in the womb, what does it mean? Again, 2 variants. Either this child had karma connected with death. Usually it happens when the children were aborted in the person's past life, and the mother also has a sign of a child's loss. In this situation, we take the mother's birth date, look if she has a loss of a baby in her karma. If there is, it's pure karma. And if there is no this sign, then this child's matrix finished and he or she doesn't have time to pass matrix lessons. And when 10,000 years or 52 codes pass, this child will come back to the 1st year and will be given again 10,000 years and keep on moving. Yes. Is the Christian baptism the switching off from the ancestral egregor? Yes, exactly. That means those who were baptized were switched off? No, absolutely not. In this question, a religious egregor gives us a very good secure toll. They say if during 7 years you don't attend Sunday service, you are automatically switched off from the religious egregor. And if you attend them, you are connected with this egregor, and in this next incarnation, you'll incarnate through the 15th karmic genus. The 15th genus is the genus of warlocks, because the religious egregor has got the 15th arcanum. If you'll calculate according to Chaldean school, you'll see it. Yes? Tell us about Caesarean section. Caesarean section unfortunately isn't favorable to do even if there is a medical necessity. It's better to try natural childbirth, as the doctors aren't always right in these aspects. Why? When on the 7th day the soul enters the body, it knows the exact day and the second of its birth. In this second there are all the talents, the program for the incarnation, the karma, the prognostics. If there is a Caesarean section, thankful to our liberation of the past incarnation mistake, you at least can choose softer karma. But if nevertheless a child is born in the karma, but he or she didn't make it in the past life, this child works out the imposed karma. 1. Subconsciously, this child goes on working out the personal karma. 2. He or she has got a new program for the incarnation according to the birth date, and also an intuitive karma that he or she had to be born. This child had talents there and here, had assignment there and here. These people live 2 destinies, seldom find themselves, and they work out karma without understanding what for. Such people feel exactly whether they work out their mistakes or not, especially when we say your mistake of the past incarnation is this one. Everyone says, right, yes, I indeed think it's mine. How to calculate the personal karma for this person? At twins? No, the one of the Caesarean section. You can calculate it here. Several days ago in Moscow we had a seminar and I work with different questions at the seminars, and during it we had to calculate a real birth date of a person. It is calculated according to several technologies. The first is the point of the obstacle. It is intuitive, a physiological defect of a person, and every person knows his or her physiological defects, and this point should coincide in the real date. It's one. Secondly, every person feels his or her assignment, and if you put all the points of the assignment, you'll manage to identify. And of course, the mistake of the past incarnation. It's also intuitively. You go on the reverse, or you have to know this person very well, or with the leading questions. Due to this system, we can suppose. In our case, we were lucky, as the person was very talented. He is a scientist, a physician. By the way, he is a developer of the fuel-free technology. He had sent his works to the USA. They had been sent back, denied, but a few years later his works were published under the strange names. This level of the scientific degree is a 100% custodian. Due to the fact that during his 85 years he didn't give up, it means that he is Rahu. That's all. In the low line we have a code of the custodian, we have a code of Rahu, we know the year and we don't know the month only. We defined, then checked through the points of obstacles and the past mistakes, and everything coincided 100%. What if a child was born in spite of anything? I mean, people tried to kill him. What does it mean? Firstly, it means this person must be on the Earth planet. Secondly, every baby struggles for their life, but there are people with weak energy, and they give up when they can't persuade the mother on the subconscious level to leave them. By the way, when we calculate the cycles of the angels, so-called calculation of the angel's schedule, and if the child is conceived on Mercury after the woman's birthday, the first month and a half, it's the period of Mercury. I'll tell you, if the child is conceived on Mercury, he is born on Saturn under the woman's protection. Whether she wants it or not, the child will be born, because the archangel protects this child. These children are the most talented. And if after the birth the child is tried to be killed, it happens. Here you should look at the karma as it is alike. If there is no karma, it is impossible. Yes. In fact, we can't incarnate if we don't have karma. Do you remember I drew the universe? I showed you 2 points in the universe. The point of the upper edge of the universe and the point of the lower point of the universe. Yes? Here is 2, there is 7. 7 is responsible for karma. 7, if you are still in karma, you are inside the universe, but not outside. That is, if your karma is untied, you are the angel. And if you have karma and you incarnated in the material world, it means that you haven't untied all the knots. Is it possible for a soul to be in our world but to have a meaning of the archangel already? No. At least I haven't met such a situation. A lot of people we are talking about mental egregors. For some money or for free, they connect you with some channels. They give you access to the 5th dimension, open the path to your angel. It's impossible. From the point of view of chemistry, physics, genetics, it's impossible. It's called like a person wants to believe and he or she is given this opportunity. It's the same as I have a client in England. She constantly calls me and whatever imagines. I mean, her magicians give ideas to her. She is told that her ethereal body is on the other planet or her angels left her. It's impossible. She is worried, she calls me and cries. I try to explain and send her a book, but she doesn't hear me, as she wants to believe she has some defects. It's impossible. Maybe she wants to tell you she is special. Of course, if you have a special connection with the angel, actually everyone has it. But special means you feel it subtly, through your 8th chakra, through the 3rd eye. By the way, in Egypt there is a sign, you know it, I'll try to depict it. I'm not a good artist. This sign. You understand what I'm talking about. And like this, as I remember. Do you know what it means? It's a pineal gland. That's why in Egypt, this sign meant that every person had this. It was called epiphysis. That is, everybody has got a connection with the informational energetic field. Exactly here is your 8th chakra. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on the Earth planet. That's why everybody has got extrasensory abilities. The question is only about the intensity of their development. In numerology, there is such a technology that lets us calculate the access to esoterics. A lot of people at the seminars wait for the last day to see what numbers of access they have. The access to esoterics means that your task for the incarnation coincides with the esoteric way. We have an access through the planetary task, through the social task, through the karmic task, through the ancestral egregor. We'll look at it now. If your egregor is the 5th, 9th or 15th, you've got an access to esoterics and one more access through the matrix. Here are 5 accesses. And now, can you repeat please? Yes, of course. The accesses to esoterics are got through the planetary task, the social task, the karmic task, through your ancestral egregor, that is through the talent of your genius, and also through the matrix. Those who have the 40th code in the matrix, the 7th, 9th or 12th line in the matrix, they have the access to esoterics. At the last seminar in Moscow, I was asked to write down all the tasks for the incarnation. I proved easily that it was impossible. We'll look at every task separately. At the first course and further only the metaphysical mentality of the numerologist. Of course, we speak about it at the seminar. This mentality lets combine all these 5 tasks in one construction. And what if we wrote a book on this issue? Let's look at them together. Planetary tasks, 12 of them. Social tasks, 22. Karmic tasks, 12. Ancestral egregors, 22. Matrix codes, 53. And there are extras. What number of variants will you get? Let's multiply. We get 80 million. As you understand, if I leave one page for each task, it'll take you a lot of time to read. That's why it's better to use a metaphysical mentality and manage to combine all these things. So I think we are ready, right? How many lines are there in the matrix? There are 13 lines in the matrix. The accesses are the 40th code, 1, the whole 7th line. These are confessors. It's the 7th code, the 20th code, the 33rd code, and the 46th code. The whole 9th line. These are clairvoyants. And the 12th line. These are mothers of God. Fathers of God, they are given a high intuition so that they could bring their children up correctly. If a person goes to the church for more than 7 years, is her or his child switched off from the ancestral egregor? If the baby had been before she went? The baby was born at the time she started. Yes, most likely the baby switched off. Yes, most likely. But here is an important moment. If these are the first 4 children, the first child came to the man's genus. No connection with the mother, only physiological. This child is in the father's genus. The father goes to the church. Then the child is switched on. If a man spent his possibilities before the first family experience, then the first 4 children conceived in the marriage are also egregorial souls. The first 4 children, no matter in the marriage or not, incarnate in his genus, his ancestors. I go to the church and my husband doesn't. Does it mean that he is switched off from the ancestral egregor? There can be different reasons why he doesn't go there. So, are you ready? The last question then, I see there. Children of 2000s, they have only one numeral in the first figure. Won't they have the second? No. The first and the second figure is the same. 1 plus 0 is the same 1. The sign is doubled. Okay, we'll hand in your sheets of paper and you'll be able to define what? You see ancestral egregors. Do you see? They are highlighted with colors. Your ancestral egregors. I'll enumerate all of them. Next we see the karmic knot. There is a section karmic knot. What concerns the chart? The blue line on the chart is your career. If the chart goes up, it means that professional paths are open for you, and the fact that you are unemployed now means it's your choice. If the chart goes down, the work is problematic and it's difficult to keep it. If on your down line you'll want to work freelance or change a job, you can have problems with an employment. The red line is your personal emotional life. If this line goes up, it gives you positive emotions, but if it goes down, there is a high risk of separations. And now about your ancestral egregors. At the moment we are still calculating them, that's why if you don't get your calculations, you'll get them a bit later. You can now write down interpretations. Have you calculated according to the written surnames? Yes, we took the surname that you had written. Most of the women wrote their husband's surnames, right? Yes, you did right. Our main ancestral egregor is an egregor of the genus. That is your father's genus, because not always your maiden name coincides with the surname in the genus. The women don't always know it. Thus, your surname is the surname of your ancestral egregor. This is the genus where you incarnate it and the genus where you transfer your information. You got the information and you have to transfer it. When a woman changes the surname, she enters a strange ancestral egregor. In 21 days after the change of the surname, she mentally transfers the information, and mentally she will get this information back. If you remember, I drew the lines. The first line is male, pure male. The second is female. If a woman has got boys, she will incarnate through the husband's genus. Through your husband's genus, right? Because you'll incarnate through the male line. Firstly, if you haven't got boys but you have girls, it means you are left astrally in your main genus. But mentally, you are connected with another genus. And your flesh drive will be used by ancestors of the other genus. The woman was always called a keeper of the ancestral lines and of a hearthstone, of an ancestral hearthstone. This was always important. If you changed your surname, all your talents, knowledge, crafts that you mastered in 21 days after changing will go to your husband's ancestral egregor and will transfer to all your descendants. If you decided to take your surname back, the energy is renewed in 21 days and you return to your main ancestral egregor. According to the rule, it's better for the first 4 children to have your husband's surname and another 4 children to take the mother's surname. But I don't recommend to change surnames. These are unnecessary programs, unnecessary tasks that you have to complete. Yes? If a couple isn't married and their children have the father's surname, for the highest forces, this situation doesn't mean anything if we are talking about unofficial relationships. Thus, if your child takes your partner's surname, he or she is connected to the other ancestral egregor. And if you still have your surname, you'll keep on possessing the same ancestral egregor, and you complete your mental assignments and also your tasks in the genus. And if the child takes absolutely strange surname, I understand. There are always own ancestral egregors for everything. If you take a fictional surname and register it in the documents, it is counted as egregor, We check it through the karma, as you can take a karmic pseudonym, and from this moment, you are connected with the strange egregor and it can't coincide with you genetically. This is the variant when you can calculate it. Look, we have one ancestral egregor, and there are lines, extra lines, and here are you. You change your ancestral egregor. If this egregor, for example, the first, and this one is the second, and when you take this surname, you enter a strange egregor with absolutely different genetic lines, and you'll incarnate through the other ancestral egregor. That's why I don't recommend changing surnames, and if you change, try to stay in the same ancestral egregor. We are calculating. We have a lot of specialists in Yekaterinburg. The city is rich with esotericists. Today there are a lot of people who learned our system. They are specialists and they'll help you to calculate. Or if you attend our seminars, you will for sure learn how to calculate it right. Yes? Did I get it right that if a woman has got the first son, she will incarnate in her husband's genus? If a son, yes, she will be born in her husband's genus, that's right. And if a daughter, she will incarnate in her genus, right? If there is a boy, even one boy, he can be the third or the fourth, she'll automatically will be born in her husband's genus. The woman always goes to the strange ancestral egregor. This is her function. Let's start. You've got your sheets of papers. There is your ancestral egregor. Here are calculations, not of your ancestral lines, but the type of your genus. Those talents and that program that came to you according to your genus. If there is one, I've already mentioned it today, it's the genus of teachers. The teachers who were close to noble class. Those were professors in the institutes and other high schools. They knew foreign languages. Right, they were very talented. Which figure are we talking about? Here in the bottom, red color. Do you see? And what about the talent? What is the talent of the first genus? These are pedagogical abilities, plus of course if the genus was close to the court, it has got its own manners, you understand it. This person always tries to teach someone, to give knowledge to people. This person treats information the other way. He or she estimates it. As a rule, these genera appreciate books. They always transferred crafts from one generation to the other. It was an ancestral tradition, and this genus was involved in pedagogics. The second genus, is there anybody? This is the genus of doctors. In our language and in our ancestors' language, these are witch doctors, or mainly healers. That's why if you have this ancestral egregor, your ancestors were always involved in medicine and learned it deeply. They knew herbs and were able to make medication. If you work in a medical sphere, it means you are following your ancestors' crafts. The third genus are also teachers. They mainly work in private houses, babysitters, governesses, tutors. Are there anybody? These people are given a possibility to feel children. And what is the main to transfer the correct information to them? Actually, they are also teachers, but on the lower level. But nevertheless, they are close to rich houses, and it means the aim is money. The fourth genus are entrepreneurs. These are people who run business, to speak modernly. Those days they were called prosperous peasants, and nowadays their main task is to develop in business. If they don't have their own business, it will be difficult for them to live. And if they have a business, it will be easy for them to set up a company, and all the ancestors will help them. It is important to understand that these people are uncomfortable as employees. They see, they hear, they understand much more, advise and get negative emotions from their boss. Right. Because the boss usually says, if you are so intelligent, set up your own company. That's excellent, start your company. Your ancestors will help you. Are there any from the fifth genus? This is a priestly genus. It's the oldest genus on the Earth planet. People priests who always transferred knowledge, they directly communicated with gods. Well, we call them gods, but indeed these are more developed ancestors who came to us from Asgard, the constellation of the Pleiades. And when Perun, he communicated with priests. Their main task was to get information from the gods and to transfer it to the whole humanity in an accessible language. These people must be involved in esoterics. This is their main assignment. The sixth genus is the genus of home craftsmen. Those who were involved in cooking, those who designed, I call it in a modern way, and also children's upbringing. That's why these people possess a unique feeling of creativity, they cook perfectly. Their genus had secret receipts, and if you are able to restore them, you can become a famous chef. The seventh genus is the genus of scientists, philosophers, and engineers. Is there anybody here? Yes. Great. I congratulate you. Your ancestors discovered some knowledge for us, and maybe today in this conference hall we are under the lamps and in front of the cameras, thankful to your ancestors. Thus your task is to improve your ancestors' informational field, to create some engineering technologies, to develop mentally, and of course to bring your descendants in this tradition. The eighth genus is the genus of true believers. This is the genus of lawyers, judges, and other legal workers. That's why on the subconscious level you feel laws very well, and even if you are in the other country, you clearly understand that passing the road at the red light is forbidden. And of course you take the documents and they speak to you. They tell you about, you don't even read a contract. They talk to you vibrationally. There is a mistake in the contract, worth signing or not. If you choose a law specialization, it'll be easy for you. The ninth genus, are there such people? These are clairvoyants. In this genus, extrasensory abilities were transferred to each descendant of the genus. If you started relationships and your husband, whose surname you took, and he has 9, you are given an access to extrasensory. You are connected to the mental field of this egregor. You are able to read information from other people on the extrasensory level. It's a very interesting egregor, but very young, because firstly they were priests and later clairvoyants appeared. Your task now is esoterics. The 10th genus is the genus of accountants or financial workers, bank workers, sales representatives, people who ran business on a large scale, including trade. It's a very prosperous and successful genus which transferred from one generation to the other how to earn money and of course how to spend it. That's why in this incarnation your task is to increase the capital of your genus, to save financial flows and divide them correctly. If in such a genus you don't leave any inheritance or you don't help your ancestors with the money, you can be punished. You may be deprived of all the money, as your main task is to develop within your genus and provide your family financially. Right. The 11th genus are the warriors, soldiers. In modern conception, sportsmen refer to this genus as well, because they are also warriors, but on the other field. These people defended our borders. You know, there are separate tribes, Varangians in Ukraine. Do you remember in Ukraine? Forgot? Okay, there were a lot of them. And for example, now people who follow the warriors, they work as policemen, military men, spies. It's right for them as the task is to defend. If they don't defend, for example, for women it's not necessary, then it's important to develop physically, do sports, some exercises at home, trainings, meditations and so on. Chess isn't included. Right, just in case. The 12th ancestral egregor are social workers, people who help others voluntarily, as in the past times they were people in villages and communities who helped people. That's why your main task is to help people to find their way, help psychologically, reconcile and soothe, cheer and inspire. These are very good psychologists, social workers, people who feel other people's intonations sensitively, physiological, emotional and psychological state. You have to know how to use it. The 13th genus in the tarot numerology is the sign of Rahu. This genus belongs to revolutionists. All the descendants of this genus possess the hypnotic gift. You should be careful with it and know how to use it. In this genus, your task is to pave absolutely new roads. And if the bicycle was invented before you, then you have to invent one-wheel bicycle. And also you have to guide other people to the same way. If in the 13th genus you live according to the stereotypes and standards you'll get little in this life, your task is to go against the rules. You have to learn alternative sciences, practice esoterics, and so on. The 14th genus is the genus of agriculture. Your main task is to grow herbs, practice selection, provide your family with products using your agricultural gift. Yes, this is agriculture. Actually, it's a peasant genus, not very prosperous, but very useful, as this genera fed the whole Europe and the most part of Asia. The 15th genus, is there anybody? You are ashamed, right? Wizards. The very wizards who could control ether. They are the most powerful clairvoyants ever existed. If we talk about the 5th genus, these are priests. This genus is more intellectual. Those from the 9th genus can predict the nearest future, but the 15th, they do everything. They are cosmobionicists, healers, clairvoyants, and it's very good to be friends with them because they possess a strong energy, and the same as with the 13th, the computers freeze, people have emotional nervous breakdowns. People from this genus are very sensory, practice esoterics. The 16th genus is the genus of builders. That's why these people choose professions of builders, or they work well with a hammer, or they can easily build a birdhouse, as the ancestors were involved in building from one generation to the other. Your task is to do repair works in your flat. The 17th genus is the very talented genus. They were artists, poets, writers, those who entertained the others, especially those from the 7th genus who were involved in scientific work. The 17th genus is a public genus, and your main task is to glorify yourself. It's easy for you nowadays, as there is YouTube. One video and you are a YouTube star. You follow your ancestral direction. But remember, there is positive and negative information. The 18th genus is a genus of craftsmen, but in a public scale. For example, locksmiths or those who produced flour. Actually, they helped the whole community, the whole village, but they were craftsmen. That's why your task is to do household. For men, it is to throw rubbish, for women to cook, that is to make it comfortable at home for your close people. If you have your restaurant or you run your company, so clothes, for instance, you are a designer, an architect, it's ideal. Also, florists are perfect. The 19th genus is a genus of official people, high-rank bureaucrats who worked within our state. Now your task is also look forward such positions, to develop your career, to improve the status of your parents, and so on. And of course, if it's your task, you'll be supported. Why? All the ancestors will take your choice. The 20th genus, is there anyone? This is nobility. These are people who possessed deep knowledge, who were at the beginning of Rus. They defended our Rus and at the same time developed crafts and helped those who cultivated the land. They had a lot of dynastic professions, deep secret knowledge, and these genera suffered the most during the revolution. Now your task is to feel these ancestral traditions, show to your descendants, and of course in this genus there are special manners, which you have to master and transfer to your descendants. The next is the 21st. It's a genus of international official people and international traders, very serious entrepreneurs who represent the interests of our country in other states. To call them in a modern way, they are sportsmen, singers who represent our country in the different countries. These are ministers and official people. Now your task is to learn foreign cultures, foreign languages, travel abroad, and thankful to this, you can understand foreigners intuitively, even if you don't know a foreign language. You adapt easily, you get help in everything, to find a job, a flat, as your ancestors stay for you. The 22nd genus is a genus of village teachers. This is a genus where you have to give birth to 3 or more children and to bring them up personally, educate them, for example, nowadays to help them with their homework. Now you have an understanding which genus you belong to. In your sheets of paper, give me an example, please. Do you see? Yes. Do you see there is a phrase karmic knot? If your karmic knot is circled, there are such people. It means that your genus is karmic. That is, you are mentally switched off from your ancestral egregor. You had made a mistake according to which the patron of your genus decided not to bless you to get mental information of this genus. Now your task is to untie this karmic knot and you'll be led in your ancestral egregor. Yes, you'll be incarnated in this genus, but you'll be switched off from the information in this genus. What does each karmic knot mean? We have a video on YouTube and of course one of the seminars. Yes, let's hand in. You'll be able to see your karmic knots and their description. Please pass them. Yes. The maiden surname, and now he is connected with his mother's ancestral egregor. So I was asked to look. The father changed his surname at the 10th grade. The child was born and was given this surname. How to calculate? Look, there was a question. Maybe you haven't heard. I'll repeat. The father changed his surname at the 10th grade, and his child was born under the changed surname. From the astral point of view, this child is switched on to the father's authentic ancestral egregor, but mentally, this child is switched on to the ancestral egregor of the changed surname. If by the end of the life this child won't take the authentic surname back, he or she will incarnate through the mental energy, because this child will be given a replacement. That's why it's better to learn your authentic surnames, go back to these surnames, then you'll be defended mentally and astrally. The energy should go together, and if the energy is torn, then the child doesn't feel support and enough strength. What if there are grandchildren already? I give you theory and you decide how to solve this problem. I calculate both. Right. When you calculate the card inclusion, the figure of individuality we calculate according to the basic surname, and the changed surname is not included into inclusion. Is it reflected somehow? Yes, it is connected mentally. If there is a double surname is a double egregor. Double egregor, the person presents here and there. But nevertheless, you have to understand, if you are in one egregor, you incarnate easily. If in double egregor, there can be a dispute in the astral plane, which ancestral egregor you'll incarnate through. You have to make a choice. I beg your pardon, we're going to... I'm sorry, the time is over. I was asked to tell you what we teach at the first, second and the third course, though we have a program on our website www.alvasar.ru, but those who don't master numerological terms and don't get the sequence here can be misunderstandings what we calculate. The first course is a basic course, but it doesn't mean it's easy. Because at the basic course we learn 33 methodics of different numerology schools. We learn subconsciousness at Chinese school, at Chaldean also subconsciousness. In this school we learn ancestral egregors, learn how to define karmic and non-karmic genus and how you were accepted in this genus. Also at the first course we learn programs for the incarnation in details, the past incarnation mistakes, the lower level of the karma, the upper layer, define the assignments, tasks, chats of the immunity, the energetic, and so on. It's a huge spectrum of knowledge. The first course in its prognostics you can divide into 4 different types of consultations. In fact, it's diagnostic. You'll work as any diagnostician or therapist in a medical sphere. You tell the person what his thin and powerful place. The second course is deeply prognostic. Here we learn to arrange all the mistakes of the past incarnation. 1. According to the mistakes we interpret the astral layers, the person's prognostic according to the karma, the person's compatibility according to the karma, and also direct events, temptation of the karma, and build charts. There are lots of them. A chart of will, a chart of destiny, a chart of a career, a chart of a life path, of stagnation, of entrepreneurs. We call them self-realization charts, charts of financial flows, and others. Here you present the full picture of a person's destiny and karma. The first 2 courses should be attended one after another. The first course at the beginning, and if you mastered this information, as there is a lot of information and our students faced it, if you master it and decided to choose numerology not only as an extra profession to your main, but a deep occupation, then you move to the second course. At the second course, it'll be difficult without the first one. You won't get the idea for a long time, plus you won't be good at karma. It's the material of the first course. We also have the third course. If you attended all 3 courses, we give you a certificate as a master of numerology. It's the highest zen today, as the third course gives you an absolute entry to the person's prognostics through the karma. And this is tarot numerology. Tarot numerology, the third course, you can learn separately from the first and the second courses. It's a separate foundation, separate technologies that you can learn completely. What concerns tarot numerology, it's our favorite school. It's the quickest, prognostic. It also refers to ancestral egregors and prognostics. It speaks about programs for the incarnation. It gives you strong and weak sides, karmic nodes. It reveals your amulet and talisman practice, and you can support yourself energetically. It's the strongest layer on prognostics and compatibility. There we reveal the couple's program in their relationships, how these relationships were formed at the beginning, at their development, at their conclusion, the result of their relationships, karmic nodes, who shifts the karma to the partner. It's seen in tarot numerology at the third course. That's why tarot numerology is the most interesting in learning. It's more simple in learning, as there are only 22 arcana refracted through different mathematical technologies. But nevertheless, it doesn't mean that it doesn't give huge prognostics. We love tarot numerology most of all, and when we consult a person, we start with tarot numerology. It gives a quick effect. We invite you to our lectures, our seminars, and of course, if you would like to read anything, you will be able to read in our book. Also, I want to tell you about our unique library. This is a sacred knowledge. Here are 1,300 books from different sections. Most of these books you won't find on the internet because they are too deep. That's why if you want to get an access to our personal library that we have been collecting for many years, it's from the 15th century to the modern deep technologies. Here is numerology, astrology, history, genetics, physics, chemistry, even a healing book of the 17th century, our ancient chronicles, and many other sources. You can buy this library from Ironpore after the lecture during 3-4 weeks while we are in your city. If you are interested in our library, welcome. Can we open it on the computer? Yes, of course. Yes. Thank you very much for coming. There are people from different towns. Welcome one more time. Good luck.